Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I wasn't going to say anything in this round, but I think Mr. Shimkus got to a very important point. When the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, was pitched, we were told that that premiums were going to come down for every family by $2,500 a year. And of course, we know that that's been completely false. You could keep your plan, that's false. Keep your doctor. All those things that we've litigated many times. And so we're trying a different path. And I think Mr. Cardenas asked a pointed question when he asked, what's the difference between may and shall in our bill? It's an important question. And counsel answered it perfectly. One's a requirement, one is what you're allowed to do. So then it comes down to the most fundamental point. Who do you trust? Do you trust your state, your governors, the governor's appointees that oversee health care in your state, the legislature, or do you trust the unelected bureaucrat in Washington, D.C.? We tried the unelected bureaucrat in Washington, D.C., and we saw every promise of Obamacare, nearly every promise, broken. Now we have an opportunity to provide flexibility. The difference between may and shall, I believe, is flexibility. And if we want to get to the cost point, which I think my friend from Vermont spoke to very eloquently, we need to bend the cost curve of healthcare down. Markets do that. We've tried the mandate. That didn't do it. And why would it, when you think about it? If you mandate people have to have something and then provide a blank check to pay for it, you're not going to drive the cost curve down. But if you trust the consumer in the form of a patient with a tax credit to shop in a competitive marketplace, costs have to come down to be competitive. So let's trust people. Let's trust markets. Let's trust states as opposed to bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. with mandates and blank check. I want to get to another issue. And that was a statement about, we've heard several statements about how this Republican plan is going to perhaps reduce Medicare or expedite its demise. Have we forgotten that Obamacare took $800 billion out of Medicare as just a down payment on Medicare? Have we forgotten that? It's a fact. Listen, if we're going to, obviously you didn't forget. So what's going to drive the costs down is innovation. That flexibility that we give to governors and to states. And by the way, I've heard all the exaggeration of people losing their health care. I've got pages of people who lost their health care. I've got pages of testimonials from North Dakota of people who have coverage but don't have care because they can't afford the care that comes with their coverage. They can't pay the deductibles, the co-pays, the premiums, but technically they have care. And I'll spare all of the testimonials until maybe a later time if this keeps going. But I'd prefer to get to the substance of the amendment and the bill and start voting. With that, I would yield to anybody that wants to take the last minute.